June. Jessica. Final act, scene 1. Welcome to the last day of school, where there's music and movies and games, singing and laughing and smiles all around. Cakes and cookies and fun for everyone, at least. This is what the last day of school is supposed to encompass. Ours didn't. Crying wasn't anything I had ever experienced in any last day of school, but crying was what I felt like doing, and I know I wasn't the only one. We had whole tremendous hopes for our teachers to be with us by the end of the school year, but he wasn't. I keep wondering what about the mr.terupt I don't know. I have thought a lot about it since that day in the waiting room. Everybody likes mr.terupt, but nobody is that close to him, except for Miss Dewberry. But even she hopes to get closer. Part of me thinks that it's not just him they're all concerned about, but us too, because they know we're the one who are really close to him. But how can I say that or think that when I don't truly know him? Maybe it's because it doesn't matter how well we know him. We love him. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even my mom. I want to, but what's the point? He's not here. mr.terupt didn't make it. Alexia, I want to see Miss. I went to see Teach last week, and like the nurse said they were doing something and that I had to come back. I was mad, but I didn't really think anything was up. Now I'm beginning to wonder if maybe something's going on. Mrs. Wilms and Mrs. Newberry are definitely acting strange. Like Mrs. Wilms is way too perky, humming to herself and talking with silent nods to Mrs. Newberry. We had been poking her head into our room one too many times today. I'm beginning to wonder if Teach woke up and they have been keeping it a secret so that they can surprise us. I'm telling you, something's up. Delaney, dear God, I don't want to be mad at you, but I am. You haven't listened to my prayers. If you had, mr.terupt would be here. We need him. Why don't you give him back to us? Anna, Mrs. Wilms makes me mad. Our whole class is feeling terrible, except for her. She seems happy, walking around with that bounce in her steps. I even heard her humming at one point, but she quickly stopped when she realized I had noticed. Is she really that happy to get this year over with? Then the thought hit me. Does she know something that we don't? Luke! No! mr.terupt, suddenly things changed drastically for me. I have kept believing that he was badly hurt and would recover. But now that the year is over, the thought of him not making it seems very real. I'm scared. Jeffrey, I don't know what's going on with Mrs. Wilms, but I want to punch her. This is the worst day of the year, and I see her wink at Anna, what's the matter with you? I want to scream at her. I don't care if she's the principal. In case you didn't notice, Terupt's gonna die. I want to yell that at her too, but I keep all my anger inside. Don't you dare wink at me, lady. Jessica, final act, scene 2. All day long I fought back tears, and now tears streamed down my face. I couldn't believe it. mr.terupt made it. He was here. He was okay. We rushed out of our seat, our bodies pressed together in a giant class hug. I miss you, he said. We missed you too, we shouted. I love you guys, he said, bending down to our level. He looked at each of us and hugged us one by one. He hugged me. I love you, Mr. Terupt, I said. The words danced out of my mouth. I love you too, Jessica. We hugged some more, and then Mr. Terupt spotted Peter. Peter hadn't been part of the hug. He was still sitting in his seat, probably too scared to move, too frightened to think what Mr. Terupt might do or say to him. Mr. Terupt stood up and walked over to Peter. We watched. He taught us like he did every day we were with him. He showed us how to forgive. Luke, Mrs. Holmes spoke up. Boys and girls, I do have an announcement before I leave you with your teacher, she smiled. The school board has decided that next year will be an experimental year. We're going to try looping in one classroom. What's that? Anna asked. Looping in with a classroom and the teacher move on to the next grade together, Mrs. Holmes said. It got quite fast, really quiet. Hold your breath, quiet. Was everybody wondering the same thing? I looked around. Jessica smiled and nodded at me. Boys and girls, next year your class will be looping, Mrs. Holmes said. With Mr. Terupt? Anna asked. Yes, Mr. Terupt answered. We jumped and screamed and howled and hollered. I saw Mrs. Wilms heading toward the door. I ran over to her. Mrs. Wilms, I said as she was about to leave. She turned around. Yes, Luke? Thank you, I said. Then I felt a sudden quietness behind me. The rest of my class stopped and took a notice of Mrs. Wilms. Thank you, Mrs. Wilms, a voice called. She looked at Mr. Terupt. I was close enough to hear her say, There's some magic in this room with you here, Mr. Terupt. Magic. She hugged him and left. Alexia. Teeth made it. He showed up on the last day with no warning. It was the biggest surprise ever. Everyone ran and hugged him. Then Teach went over and hugged Peter. I liked Teach so much when he did that. It made me think of the day he took me out in the hall. Teach knew how to be nice. He didn't say one thing and do another. Not Teach. After things calmed down, I went up to him. I've being nice now, Teach, I said. You'd be proud. You have always been nice, Lex, she said. You must figure out how to show it. But you're right. I'm very proud of you. I can't wait till next year, I said. I can't wait either. I missed you. Then I hugged Teach again. I love you, Teach, I said. I love you too. So now it's wait till next year, and I can't. Jeffrey, sometimes school can actually be great, and the next year gonna be just that 'cause Terup's back. I didn't think he was gonna make it. I thought he was gonna die like Michael did. I tried to help Michael and it didn't work. I don't know if I helped Terupt at all, but he made it. I ran and got help when he fell down in the snow. I ran inside and got the nurse and made them call 911 and got Mrs. Wilms. I did that. Was that enough? I watched Terupt hug Peter. He didn't blame anyone. Jessica told me that it wasn't my fault that Michael died. Maybe you just do the best you can, 'cause you can't control what happens in the end. I guess it's okay to hope for things. Sometimes it works out. Slowly, I'm getting my mom and dad back. There isn't a silence between us anymore, though they still don't talk to each other very much. Mom is out of her pajamas, but never out of the house. That's okay for now. She's starting to try to get better, like me and Dad. I hope things get better between them. I miss my brother, but I'm really glad we got Terupt back. And I think I have found some reasons for all of this. I never would have been the one to break the silence between me and my mom and me and Dad. If it weren't for Terup's accident, I wanted so bad to tell him how much I loved him, and I didn't know if I was gonna get the chance when he was in that coma. And that was when I knew I didn't want to miss chance with my parents. So I broke the silence. I'm glad too. I'm happy. And the last day turned out to be a great day. Mr. Terupt made it. I've never felt so happy. My throat, my heart, my belly, they all burned with happiness and probably relief too. And then we found out about this looping thing, and I felt the good heart inside all over again. Bus 9. Bus 9 is now loading. The call came over the speakers. See you soon, Mr. Terupt, I said. I ran over and gave him another quick hug. Have a good summer. You too, Anna, he said. And Mr. Terupt. I looked up at him, and he looked down at me. I think Mrs. Newberry might have the hots for you in case you're interested, I smiled. He smiled back. Matchmaker Anna, thanks for the tip. Bus 9, last call for Bus 9, the loudspeaker announced. I hurried out of room 202 with my head held high. I never made it to Bus 9, though. I got downstairs to the lobby and ran into Mom and Charlie. Hey, kiddo, Charlie said. Hi, guys, I said. Are you here to pick up Delaney, too? She's still upstairs. I barely got those words out of my mouth before I saw the answer to my question. Delaney's mother walked into the lobby. She spotted us right away. Hi, Miss Roberts, I said, finding no small amount of courage. Would you like me to go upstairs and get Delaney for you? Not needed. Delaney came through the stairwell door and entered the lobby. She took a second to look at everyone, then she and I exchanged a knowing glance, bracing ourselves for whatever came next. There would be no disappointment on this day. It was a day of happiness and celebration. Hi, Mrs. Roberts, Mom said, offering her hand to shake. I'm Terry Adams, and this is my daughter, Anna. We didn't meet properly at the hospital. We would love to have you and Delaney come over this afternoon, maybe for a cup of coffee or tea, and some hangout times for the girl. The ball lay in Mr. Roberts' court now. I let my breath out when I saw her shake my mom's hand. Please call me Susan, she said. Delaney and I would be happy to come over. She glanced at Delaney, who nodded excitedly, but without hiding the shock on her face. Then Mrs. Roberts looked at Charlie. Mr. Terupt came into the lobby at some point during all this and gave Delaney and me a thumbs-up sign. It was as if he knew the whole story. Did he? We waved goodbye to the best teacher in the whole wide world. Delaney. It started with an old friend, Alexia, who wasn't really a friend. And in came this new girl, Jessica, whom I liked but was told not to like. Somewhere in between, I became friends with Anna, who worked with a cooperative classroom and had this huge Ramadan project. And that old friend who I had figured out wasn't a friend at all was kind of on her own. I had Jessica and Anna. Then the accident came. While Jeffrey ran for help, I held Mr. Terupt's head, putting my hat and coat under it so that it wasn't laying on the cold snow. I went to visit Mr. Terupt in the hospital with Jessica and Anna and found an old friend there. Alexia was Lexi again, except new and improved. James left, but he made us see Peter again. And then we played the wait-and-see game until today. Today, Mr. Terupt came back, And then we found out that we're looping and we'll get to be with them next year. I can't wait to tell Grandmother news. She's the one who helped me when things got tough. And she's the one who helped me when things got tough. And she said a lot of prayers with me. I don't think I'll tell Grandma about the end of the day news though. I'll leave that up to Mom. I had wished Anna a great summer and watched her head out of the classroom to her bus while Mr. Terupt said, "Delaney, I see your mother walking across the parking lot." He was looking out our window. "She must be here to pick you up." "Okay, thanks," I said. I grabbed my stuff. "Have a great summer. I can't wait till the fall." "Bye, Delaney," he said. I ran over and hugged him once more. "I'm so glad you're back," I told him. I let go, looked in his face, and then hurried downstairs. I got down to the lobby and saw everyone. Mom, Charlie, Anna, and Terry. Was Charlie with Mom or Terry? Oh boy, I thought, but things worked out. Mom shook Terry's hand, accepted her invitation for coffee. Mom looked at Charlie after, but didn't say anything or make any sort of faces. She was going to try really hard for us. As we were leaving, Mr. Terupt gave us a thumbs up sign. How long had he been watching? How much did he know? Dear God, it's Delaney down here, full of love. Thanks for giving me my teacher back, and again for next year. And thanks for helping my mom give Terry and Anna a chance. Maybe now you can start to work on Grandma. She's going to be a lot tougher to pursue. Amen. P.S. I'm sorry I got mad at you. Peter. Out of nowhere, I heard the squeak. "Mr. Terupt!" Everyone around me jumped up and ran toward the door. I couldn't believe it. Mr. T was back. I started crying. Mr. T was alive, and he was here. I stayed in my seat, trying to look small, but he spotted me. The room grew quiet as Mr. T walked toward me. I was scared again. Mr. T got on his knees and looked directly into my eyes. Then came the best hug I've ever felt. Mr. T wrapped his arm around me and gave me a huge squeeze. I squeezed him back as tight as I could. My body shook and I sniffed my snooty nose. "It's okay, Peter," he whispered in my ear. "I forgive you." Suddenly I felt lighter, a lot lighter. Jessica. Final act, final scene. I have realized something. It's not California I long for anymore, or even Dad. It's sixth grade and another year with Mr. Terupt. I want to ask him about his family and tell him to let Mrs. Newberry get close because she truly cares about him. Now isn't the time. There will be a lot of opportunities for that when school starts up again. I need to enjoy this certain call. I have read a lot of books, but I think ours is a great story. And I know Mr. Terupt would agree. It's a happy ending. Luke. I remember thinking sixth grade. We're going to be a sixth grader, and Mr. Terupt is going to be my teacher, our teacher. I thought of Mrs. Wilmsworth, magic. I looked at Mr. Terupt sitting with some of my classmates, and I thought, he is right, there will be a magic. He is my teacher, the dollar word man. Terupt. Thank you for watching.